Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the massive, kind of hidden challenge powering the entire AI revolution. Its unbelievable hunger for electricity and the trillion-dollar bottleneck it's creating in our physical world. Okay, so let's just try to get our heads around the sheer scale of this thing. This whole AI boom. It's literally being built on a physical foundation, and the size of it is just staggering. We're talking about a global construction project on a historic scale. And honestly, the numbers are absolutely mind-boggling. And wow, this number really puts it all into perspective. Get this. Analysts think that by 2030, we're going to need to spend $5.2 trillion on AI-ready data centers. And let's be super clear here. That's not for the fancy chips or the software. Nope, that's just for the buildings, the physical infrastructure needed to keep this whole thing moving forward. To give you some context, that's an investment larger than the entire economy of Japan. So you see, this isn't just another tech trend that lives in the digital world. No way. This is a deep, fundamental shift. It's what people are calling a generational investment cycle, and it's completely flipping the script on sectors like power utilities. The companies we used to think of as slow and steady. Well, now they're becoming the high-growth engines of this new economy. And that one simple question, well, it gets us right to the heart of the problem, doesn't it? It's the central conflict of the entire AI expansion. You've got this exponential growth in the digital world colliding with the very real, very physical limitations of our actual world. Which brings us right here to the great power shortage. The incredible demand from AI is just slamming head-on into the physical limits of our electrical grid. So just take a look at these projections for the US. Back in 2023, data centers used maybe 3 to 4% of the nation's electricity. Okay, but by 2030, that figure is expected to triple, jumping to around 11 or 12% of all power generated. I mean, that is an absolutely unprecedented strain on the national grid, all happening in just a few short years. And this right here leads us to a really crucial concept. It's called the compute-to-power gap. This is the central bottleneck, the thing that's slowing everything down. And what's wild is that it's not really a technology problem, it's a time problem. Here's the heart of that timing mismatch. Think about it. You can get the latest, greatest AI hardware, designed and built in, say, 18 to 24 months, super fast. But a new power plant or new transmission lines, with all the regulations and logistics, you're looking at 5 to 7 years, sometimes even longer. All of a sudden, the biggest hurdle to building a new data center isn't getting the computer chips. It's just finding a place to plug the darn thing in. So as you can probably guess, a bottleneck this huge is creating some really unexpected shockwaves on Wall Street. It's fundamentally changing the game and where investors are putting their money. For a while it was all about the chip makers, but that's changing. The big winners now? Well, we're seeing this massive comeback in the utility sector. Companies that can promise reliable 24/7 power, like Constellation and Vistra, are absolutely surging. And it's not just them. It's the companies that make the specialized liquid cooling systems and the big engineering and construction firms that are actually out there building these things. Okay, but with all this insane growth, you have to ask, are we in a bubble? It's the question on everyone's mind. And this warning, right from the chair of the Bank of England, it really highlights that concern. Are these sky-high AI stock prices for real, or are we heading for a sudden correction once these physical realities really start to bite? But here's the thing. A lot of analysts are quick to say, hold on, this isn't like the dot-com bubble. And they have a point. Back then, you had all these cash-poor, super speculative companies with no real plan to make money. Today's AI leaders, they're generating massive, and I mean massive, amounts of free cash flow. They're built on much, much more solid ground. Okay, so let's bring this back down to earth. What does this huge infrastructure boom actually mean for the real world? What's the price tag for the economy? And maybe what's the price tag for you and me? Well, here's a pretty concrete example. Check this out. Watchdogs estimate that just to support data center growth, it has already added $9.3 billion in costs to just one of the US's power grids, the PJM interconnection. That's just the price of upgrading the system to handle this new demand. And this, of course, kicks off a huge debate for regulators. The big question is, who should pay for all this? Should the data centers that are causing all this demand foot the bill? Or is that cost going to be spread out across everybody, meaning higher electricity bills for all of us at home? This creates such a fascinating split in the job market. It's like two sides of the same coin. On one hand, you have estimates that AI could put something like 6 or 7% of the US workforce at risk, especially those white-collar office jobs. But on the other hand, it's sparking this incredible construction boom. There's this intense demand for skilled trade workers, electricians, HVAC specialists, you name it, and their wages are spiking. Okay, so the scale of this problem is, well, it's immense. But the good news is the innovation being thrown at it is just as big. So let's look at some of the really cool engineering solutions being cooked up to try and solve this whole power crisis. One of the most clever ideas is this concept of a power-flexible AI factory. So instead of being this thing that just sucks power from the grid 24/7, these new data centers are designed to be, well, good neighbors. They can actually dial down their energy use in real time when the grid is stressed out. And by promising to do that, they can get permission to connect to the grid years faster than they normally would. It's a win-win. So in the short term, how are we going to power all this? Well, here's what the mix looks like. To get that 24/7 always-on reliability that AI absolutely needs, about 60% of the new power is expected to come from natural gas. The other 40%, that's going to come from a huge push for renewables like solar and wind. But the real long-term bet, the one for clean, super reliable, on-site power, that's next-generation nuclear. We're talking about small modular reactors, or SMRs. Basically, these are compact, factory-built nuclear reactors. A lot of people see these as the holy grail because you could put one right next to a data center and power it directly, no grid needed. And this isn't science fiction. The first ones are expected to start powering data centers right around 2030. And finally, let's talk about the heat, because man, these AI chips get incredibly hot. Traditional air conditioning, it just can't handle it. So the whole industry is shifting fast to these advanced liquid cooling systems. They're way more energy efficient, which is great, but they're also a game changer because they use far, far less water. And that's a huge deal, especially when you're building these things in places where water is scarce. So all of this leaves us with one last really big question to think about. AI promises this incredible digital revolution, right? But is our physical world actually ready for it? It kind of makes you wonder. The future of artificial intelligence might have less to do with elegant lines of code and a whole lot more to do with good old-fashioned concrete and copper wire.